There we go. Thank you very much, Alzette and Firdaus, over to you.
Yes, thank you, colleagues. Just waiting for the slides to, yeah, perfect. All right, they were on the page. Thank you, Eugenie. So this is me, Alzette Roux. I'm working as an advisor at the Center for Learning Technologies at Stellenbosch University. And with me today is my colleague Firdaus Talip, who is in the field of learning design. And yeah, we are journeying a bit with the concept of using H5P in online assessment, short concept. So I'm just, for the purposes of bandwidth and everything, just switching off my camera. But yeah, you can follow the slides as we go along. Can we just see on my side for navigation purposes, if yeah, I can't seem to find the controls on the side, but if somebody can just move the slides along, that'll be great. Perhaps on your guys' side, Eugenia or Donald.
Donald, please assist. Otherwise, Sandiwe, if you can please just move on the slides for us. I think, Alzette, I see you've got so many participants joining your group as well. Please don't be concerned. Let's give them the opportunity to slot in as well.
Fantastic.
Wonderful. In the meantime, Marie, Donald, or Tandiwe, if you can just assist with moving the slides on, and also perhaps promoting Alzette to presenter. Thank you.
Oh, sorry. Good, thank you. I've been upgraded. Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Marie. All right, thank you, colleagues. So, yeah, whoever's still joining, feel free. But for sake of time and the flow of the program, we're going to go ahead for the moment. So, yeah,
yes,
just for the... Thank you, Marie. So for the colleagues just joined, just again, my name is Alzette Roux, and I'm working as an advisor at the Center for Learning Technologies at Stellenbosch University. And with me presenting today is my colleague Firdaus Talip, who's in the field of learning design. And we would like to take you on a journey through yeah, navigating this online space with assessment as well, and using H5P in assessment for learning as we master a threshold concept. So as you can gather, we have a couple of concepts to work through, and that's the threshold concept to start off with, then also notion of continuous assessment, and then Firdaus will take us further on using H5P in these circumstances, especially with a view on online learning. So just quickly, the purpose for today is not to demonstrate how to set up or embed H5P in your learning management system. Recently, H5P is included in Moodle, and also I think you can use it in Blackboard as well. But rather, we're going to just share with you how to integrate, how the integration of innovative assessment practices with the use of H5P can determine whether threshold concepts have been mastered and thereby enhance student learning. So yeah, the focus here is learning focused, assessment for learning and as learning, and also supported by learning technologies. So I'm wondering, I'm curious actually, if you can think there in your heart of hearts, have you ever felt like perhaps your students received, that sounds like content dumping, but you know, sometimes it still happens, but student has access to all the necessary content. They attended the lectures, for instance, they partook in learning activities, they some of them collaborated even, etc. And sometimes the lecturer feel that all the students have to do now is just study and partake in the assessment. But comes the assessment, you get a rather bleak picture. And or perhaps you think to yourself, what on earth went wrong, and why didn't the students really show the abilities during the assessment, etc. And you feel like you have your hands in your hair. But perhaps the reason for this turn of events could be that these students, our students, with everything to their disposal, and they even studied. They really studied hard. They worked, collaborated with other students. They engaged in the learning activities, but perhaps they never really grasped a core concept or a threshold concept, and therefore knowledge building could not really take place. In other words, they could not form those new ideas. They lack the criticality because of that threshold core concept not grasped, and therefore are unable to collaborate or really convey their ideas and bring it to the party. So according to Mayer and Land, a threshold concept is like a portal that opens a new way of thinking. And this threshold concept is often irreversible in nature. In other words, if you grasp the concept, you have it. It's like learning how to ride a bicycle. Once you get on that bicycle and you mastered the balancing act, then you have it. And then you can safely navigate your space. So once this concept has been grasped, connections between interrelated phenomena can be made to ensure conceptual change and transformed understanding. For example, in law, we've got a concept, legal capacity. So once a student grasps that concept of legal capacity, then he or she will really understand how to navigate contractual law. Or perhaps in economics, you've got the notion of supply and demand. And if you grasp that, you can interpret different economic curves. Or perhaps in accounting, the threshold concept is that of debit and credit. And if you don't grasp that, you're going to feel unbalanced for the rest of your life. So what is fundamental? The question is, thinking of your discipline and your modules, etc. What are those subject concepts that really need to be grasped by students and understood before they really can move on navigating interrelated phenomena? So often we as educators, it's difficult to recall those initial threshold concepts because our discipline is so part and parcel of what we do now. But Cousin refers to this liminal space. It's almost like the students are in this threshold space, and it's difficult there. It's not an easy space to navigate, and that's why our course design makes it really so much important for us strategically to embed our teaching and learning and assessment practices to encourage our students not to mimic or to papagei, just regurgitate information that they learned. So that brings us to continuous assessment, which is an approach with the purpose of providing feedback to our students about the progress of their learning, to improve their learning, and also giving us as lecturers or facilitators of learning the feedback that we need. So the trap we often step into is that our students mimic without really grasping a threshold concept. So they learn old exam papers, they just obtain old tests or assignments, they want to pass. But come next year, and they can't really build new knowledge from that which they've learned, and they drop out or they fail. So it requires of us to strategically design our curriculum, our teaching, our learning, our assessment, to really master these concepts and not just regurgitate information. And this requires of us as facilitators of learning to explore with our students where those threshold concepts are and thereby add value to our students' learning. And an example of value-adding assessment is that of continuous assessment. Assessment as learning and not counting towards a year mark, but it really integrates our teaching and assessment, giving us and our students feedback from the assessment that can provide our students with info about the progress of learning and mastering of these threshold concepts. So now bringing us closer to H5P, an active blended learning tool that could be used to continuously assess students' learning and provide feedback to our students and improve their learning. This tool enables lecturers to create, to share, to reuse interactive content such as videos, quizzes, presentations, etc. In their learning, their teaching, and their assessment. It's free, it's open source, and it's integrated with many learning management systems. So I'm going to hand over to my colleague now, Talip, to take you further on just how we can use this H5P tool in mastering these threshold concepts. Over to you, Firdaus.
Thank you, Elzit. Thank you for that introduction. And I'm just going to go to the next slide. Yes. So As Alzette mentioned, we're not speaking about how to actually use H5P as in embedding it and creating things with it, but how to think about using the tool. So what we found in the Stellenbosch context was that using tools like the interactive video, for example, or the interactive presentation, those tools could be used to help students or to help the lecturer start making those connections or helping students make those connections with the threshold concept. So one of the examples I mentioned, the interactive video, it allows you to add interactivity using explanations. You can add pictures. Students can fill in the blanks. Those are all available in that tool. And what we thought would be really helpful in our context was using that tool to embed, for example, activate prior knowledge by using a low stakes MCQ at the start of the video. So that's something that you can see on the slide. Another tool in the video, interactive video, is the crossroads function. And this allows the students to, they can assess the understanding of a concept, but then if, for example, they maybe want to go back to something, this tool allows them to go back to a concept that was covered or move forward if they feel that they're happy with how they've assessed the understanding of that concept. So they can navigate the video depending on how they experience it. Then there's no actual grades attached to the chapter function or the crossroad function, but it allows students to take ownership of their learning, and it can be used as a form of self-assessment. Then the presentation tool, consists of slides, and you can embed multimedia, text, and different interactions. And we found that using that tool, and I'll show some examples of it later on in the slides, but it has a lot of opportunities to integrate assessment into the actual learning material. So you can embed a knowledge check in the learning material structured around those threshold concepts. One of the limitations, though, is if you're wanting to incorporate social learning using H5P, you can't really do that. But because you can put it on the LMS or embed it in the LMS, you can use it as a springboard for social learning. So you can encourage self and peer assessment using perhaps a link to a discussion forum. And here the feedback regarding learning is not only from the lecturer, but also from their peers. So the nice thing about it in our context was you can use existing content, and it doesn't require a lot of additional design time because there are templates. And also it's more about shifting your thinking about how you enhance your content and built around the threshold concepts. And it was, in our context, easy to embed on the LMS, and there was a low barrier to entry. And obviously there's a lot of resources on it. And so we're just speaking about these two, and this is not an exhaustive list of all the tools available, but just some of the two that we found really useful. And then, sorry, just getting very excited here. This was the example, a very designed example for one of the courses where students can choose how they want to navigate through the content. So all of these are clickable. They can select which element they want to learn about first. And then within those elements, there would be perhaps they can learn more about something if they want to, or so there's something that they can learn more. Or, for example, having a knowledge check before they actually start engaging with that particular section, and then they'll learn more about it. So this is just how it's including low stakes opportunities for assessing the understanding of the threshold concepts. Just checking that. Yeah, so that was yeah, these are just an example of what we have done in the Stellenbosch context. So I'm going to hand back to Elsie.
Thank you for this. And yeah, I see our time is up, but just to conclude, and what Frida has touched on as well, is with really strategic thinking about how we embed this, the students can choose how they want to navigate through the content, and giving them the autonomy and encouraging them to take ownership of their learning without the lecturer necessarily being present, in other words, asynchronously. And this way we can integrate teaching and assessment whereby the feedback from our assessment, while engaging with the content, can provide information to our students about the progress of their learning and mastering these threshold concepts, motivating them to improve their learning and also inform our lecturers further teaching and assessment to enhance our students' learning. So yeah, that's all for now. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Elzette and Firdaus. We will open now the floor for questions. Is there any question? Okay, so I have a question from my side. We are also using H5P. It's embedded in our Blackboard. What is your experience of using the H5P activities for a more higher stakes kind of assignment or assessments? And not just formative or practicing.
Yeah, so we haven't, well, from my experience, I haven't used it for a more kind of high stakes example, but it can, depending on how you embed it, you can get more data from it, from the LMS. So, but again, I probably wouldn't recommend it just yet for that, from my experience. But I would be happy to hear if other people have experience using it in that way.
Okay. Yeah, I know there's like a disclaimer on H5P that we mustn't use it for exam purposes. And I was just wondering if other people have other experiences about that. Any other questions? No further questions. So we came to the end of this session. To join the next session, you have to leave this room and go back to the program and then just select the presentation that you want to attend. And I'm just reminding you of at the lunch hour session, we are joining each other in Kumo space where we are interacting and networking in a more virtual environment. And then 12:30, we will also have somebody that gives a short demonstration for 10 minutes about what kind of exercises you can do at your desk while you are working in an online environment. Thank you, everybody, and thank you to our speakers as well.
Thank you, Marie. Appreciate it. Thank you, everyone. Have a fabulous day. See you around.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.